Failure is not the termination of your call. Write that down. Tweet that to somebody right now. We are not here to varnish a fracture. We are here to expose it so it can be set. We cannot heal what we refuse to name. Call it what it is. Not a lapse, not a season, not I made a mistake. If it was lying, call it lying. If it was adultery, call it adultery. If it was theft, call it theft. Honesty is my only policy. No loopholes, no euphemisms. Psalm 51:6 says, behold, you desire truth in the inward parts. Truth is the doorway to restoration. If you block the door with spin, you will live in the hallway of pretense. Listen carefully. You did not break your destiny. You broke a principle. Principles are laws. They never change. You can ignore a principle, but you can never disagree with it. Jump off a building and gravity won't apologize. Proverbs 6 says, if you take fire into your bosom, you will be burned. The burn is not personal, it's principled. That is why the shame feels universal, because laws are universal. But hear the hope in Romans 11:29. For the gifts and the calling of God are irrevocable. Your calling remains, your character breached. Write this down. Character failure is a breach with an unchanging principle. The principle stands, and by realignment, you can stand again. Set your expectation now. We are not doing reputation management. We are rebuilding character. Not your brand, your being. Lead with your life. There is no such thing as a private life. Some years ago, a leader handed me a draft apology for public consumption. I read it, then I tore it up. I told him, this sounds like you're still negotiating with your image. We will not negotiate. We will operate. Surgery, not cosmetics. If you rebuild your image without repairing your integrity, your image becomes your judge. Here is the promise and the path. Write it down. Confession, accountability, boundaries, and a values to ethics reset. First, confession without excuses. 1 John 1-9 promises, if we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us and to cleanse us. Not if we explain. If we confess. Second, accountability that can actually stop you enforceable with access and consequences. Third, boundaries doors you close in peace so your desires can't renegotiate under pressure. Fourth, reset the vault values, produce morals. Morals inform ethics. Ethics form character. Character becomes lifestyle. That is the cascade back to oneness. So we start here. Say it, own it, lay the weapon down. David's recovery began with 4 words. I have sinned against the Lord. Then mercy found him. Lamentations 3:23 whispers. New every morning. This morning is yours, but only if you take the door marked. Truth, walk through. We will not fake recovery in this house. We will rebuild it stone by stone until your life weighs as much as your words. So let's define what we're rebuilding. Why do we call the alphabet characters? Because A is always A. Write it down. A is A at 2 a.m. in Africa, in Asia, or in the Bronx. B is still B on your birthday at a board meeting or in a back alley. They never change. That's why we call them characters, unchanging symbols that carry meaning because they are consistent. If A became sometimes A and sometimes Q under pressure, language would collapse. Society collapses the same way when people become sometimes one thing and sometimes another. Tweet this. Character is what you are when circumstances shall change. Why do we carve statues and set them in public squares? To test the weather. Storms come, statues don't move. The rain beats, the wind screams, the crowd changes, but the statue stands where it was set. That is integrity, oneness, integration. The opposite of fragmentation. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. James 1-8. Holiness means oneness. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Deuteronomy 6-4. Write it down. Holiness is integrity. Integrity is oneness. Oneness is character. Character is the integrated self that remains the same under pressure. Not your smile, not your spotlight, not your Sunday suit. Character is the you that shows up when the deal is big, the room is dark, and your emotions are loud. Character is when your yes is yes and your no is no. Matthew 5:37. Even when your feelings protest. Character is when you swear to your own hurt and do not change. Psalm 15:4. You predecide who you are, and then you don't renegotiate with storms. Please hear me. This is not about charisma. Charisma is noise. Character is weight. Charisma attracts a crowd. Character sustains a covenant. Charisma fills a room. Character fills a life. Talent can get you the microphone. Character determines if you deserve one. Write it down. Tweet it to somebody right now. God will use your gift, but people will only trust your character. Everybody say integrate. What does that mean? To become one. No secret self, no travel self, no stage self, one self. The same person at home, at work, at midnight, and at noon. If the weather of your life can push you off your convictions, then you were not a statue, you were a sign on a hinge. Signs swing, statues stand. So here is the statue test. When the wind rises, power, money, access to sex, do you move? If your position shifts with pressure, you have personality, not character. Write this down. Character is the fixed point in a moving world. It's A staying A while everything else tries to rewrite the alphabet. That is what we rebuild now. Oneness across time, place, and pressure until your life becomes a statue of truth in a stormy square. Listen to me carefully. Principles are laws, they never change. You can ignore a principle, but you can never disagree with it. Write that down. Tweet that to somebody right now. Disagreeing with gravity doesn't suspend gravity. It simply schedules your pain. If you jump off a roof, you do not break gravity, you break yourself. That is not cruelty. That is consistency. Fire burns saints and sinners equally because fire is loyal to its nature. That's why I tell leaders everywhere, consequences are predictable because principles don't change. The scripture calls this sowing and reaping. Galatians 6:7, do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever a man sows, that he will also reap. You cannot plant deception and harvest trust. You cannot sow secrecy and reap peace. Genesis 8:22 sets the frame. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest shall not cease. Principles do not apologize. They operate. Holiness is God's oneness. Laws are God's order. When your life is fragmented, you collide with order. So let's reframe your failure. You didn't end your destiny. You violated a law. Your gift still exists, but your life hit a fixed rail and derailed. That's why the pain feels mechanical, because it is mechanical. Lie and trust collapses. Touch fire and skin blisters. Steal and consequences multiply. Write this down. Principles do not punish, they produce. They produce outcomes consistent with their nature. If the outcome is pain, it is because you labored against a law. If the outcome is peace, it is because you labored with it. Why is this confrontational? Because it removes excuses. You cannot blame the season, the stress, the spotlight. A is still A in a back alley. Remember? Pressure didn't create the breach. Pressure revealed your misalignment with a law. But hear the hope riding on the same train tracks. If laws are fixed, you can realign. Predictability is the mercy of God. What broke you can also guide you back. If stepping off the roof broke your leg, stepping onto the stairs can get you home. The law did not move. You must. This is why repentance is intelligent. Repentance is not emotion, it is realignment. Turn, the prophet said. Turn back to the path where the law carries you. Jesus said in John 8:32, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Truth is simply the accurate description of how reality works under God. The moment you accept that description without negotiation, you stop arguing with gravity. Write it down. Your life bent a principle. The principle didn't bend, so realignment is the path to recovery. Let me ask you plainly, which law did you fight? Truthfulness, fidelity, stewardship, purity, authority? Identify it and stop debating it. Laws are not voted on. They are honored. The faster you submit, the faster you heal. Anchor this in your spirit. Principles don't apologize, but they will stabilize anyone who bows to them. And when you realign, peace returns with the predictability of sunrise. Listen to me. As a father talks to his children, God's order is not a suggestion. It is a sequence. Genesis 1:26 says, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion. Notice the placement. Image first, dominion second. Write it down. Tweet it to somebody right now. God gave character before power because only character can carry power. The Creator never flips the order. We do. When we chase dominion without image, influence becomes a weapon against ourselves. Here is the maxim that will save your life. Power does not corrupt. Power exposes. Power is a mirror with a microphone. It turns the volume up on whatever is already in the heart. If there is duplicity in you, power makes it louder. If there is integrity in you, power makes it brighter. Samson had power, real power, but his image was fractured. He could tear down gates, yet could not shut the door on Delilah. Joseph had power too, but when Potiphar's wife pulled at his coat, his image spoke louder than his hormones. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? Genesis 39:9. That's image governing dominion. Now here the comfort and the caution together like two rails on the same track. Romans 11:29 reminds us the gifts and calling of God are irrevocable. Your gift still works. Your voice still carries. Your mind still solves problems. Your hands may still heal. That is not an endorsement of your behavior. That is evidence of his faithfulness to his purpose. Write this down. Your gift is evidence of God's commitment to destiny, not his consent to duplicity. Tweet it. God never cancels destiny. He confronts duplicity. I've sat with leaders who wept because after the fall, they picked up the mic and the room still shook. They said, Doc, maybe I'm okay. No. That shaking is what makes this moment dangerous. A rocket with more thrust than guidance doesn't reach space. It explodes beautifully. Dominion without image magnifies your fracture. Altitude is not safety. Character is safety. Authority will accelerate whatever you are. So if you are divided, authority drives you into a wall faster. So what is God doing with you now? He is not revoking your assignment. He is renovating your alignment. Hebrews 12:6 says, whom the Lord loves, he chastens. Correction is covenantal love. He is protecting you from your own momentum. Say it out loud where you are. Image before dominion. Make that your law. Your calling remains, but it must now be governed by restored character or it will destroy you. Lock yourself in the prison of that conviction. Lead with your life. When your life weighs more than your words again, dominion will be safe in your hands. Now let's get surgical. Locate the fracture line. Only 3 tests reveal real character. Power, money, and access to sex. Write that down. 1 John 2:16 names them in different clothes. The lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. Lust of the flesh is sex. Lust of the eyes is money. Pride of life is power. Everything you did wrong rode in on one of those 3 horses or their cousins. You didn't fail everywhere. You failed somewhere specific. Restoration begins there. So I'm going to ask you the questions I ask presidents, pastors, and parents. Are you for sale? What is your price? If the offer got high enough, would your convictions go silent? Who are you at 2 a.m. when your phone is bright and your room is dark? What did you hide receipts, messages, cash, hotel names, anonymous accounts? Write it down. Don't say stuff. Name the stuff. James 1:14 says, each one is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desires and enticed. Your desires have a fingerprint. Track it. Map the scene like a detective. Time. What hour was it? Place. Where were you? People who was in the room. On the thread. In your ear. Patterns. What always happens first? Fatigue, flattery, or fantasy? Was it after the stage when adrenaline lies to you? Was it payday when you feel entitled to round up the expense? Was it travel when your ring feels light? Write it down. Tweet this. Temptation is not random. It is scheduled by your habits. If you always crash at 11:30 p.m. after scrolling alone, that is not a surprise. That is an appointment. If you always justify small adjustments on invoices at month's end, that is not creativity. That is a curriculum in theft. If you always ride alone, counsel alone, travel alone with someone you desire, that is not ministry. That is the path to Proverbs 7. I sat with a leader. Let's call him Aaron. He said, Doc, it just happened. I said, no, son. It arrived on time. We opened his calendar. The messages spiked at 10:45 p.m. The hotel bookings were always 2 extra nights. The reimbursements had new categories. He called it pressure. I called it a pattern. Write it down. You cannot cast out a pattern. You must change a pattern. Now name the exact law you violated. Not I messed up. Which law? Truthfulness, fidelity, stewardship, authority, purity. You shall not commit adultery, Exodus 20:14, is a law. Do not lie to one another, Colossians 3-9, is a law. It is required in stewards that a man be found faithful. 1 Corinthians 4-2 is a law. Pin the label to the wound. Vague pain protects decay. Precise diagnosis invites healing. Mark the triggers that expose you. Entitlement is a trigger. I deserve this. Isolation is a trigger. No one has access. Secrecy is a trigger. Locked devices and coded names. Flattery is a trigger voices that worship your gift while ignoring your soul. Exhaustion is a trigger. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Write the list. Proverbs 28-13 warns, he who covers his sins will not prosper, but whoever confesses and forsakes them will have mercy. We will confess and forsake in a moment, but first we must locate, find the crack, circle it, say it aloud. Because once the fracture is named, we can set the bone, and when it sets stronger. Now we place the first stone back. Confession, not performance, not PR. Honesty is my only policy. Write it down. Tweet this. Half-truths are whole lies. 1 John 1-9 does not say if we explain. It says if we confess. Confession is truth spoken without a lawyer. No edits. No context. No pressure made me do it. Context might explain a bruise. It never removes the blow. Clarity invites cleansing. Vagueness protects decay. Speak in nouns and verbs. Not mistakes were made. Say I lied. Not boundaries were crossed. Say I committed adultery. Not financial irregularities occurred. Say I stole organizational funds and used them for myself. Not I was not as transparent as I could have been. Say I deceived my board and I betrayed my spouse. Write it down. Passive voice is a refuge for cowards. Integrity speaks in the active voice. David did not say, a lapse visited me. He said, I have sinned against the Lord. Confess at the level you offended and misled. To God always. To the person you violated personally. To the authority you defied structurally. To the public you deceived publicly. James 5:16 says, confess your faults one to another and pray for one another that you may be healed. Private sin demands private confession. Public deception demands public confession. If you use a microphone to mislead, you must use a microphone to make it right. Do not hide behind the word privacy to protect public pretense. Now, script the confession, facts, responsibility, repentance, restitution. Facts, what you did, when you did it, who was affected, short sentences, no adjectives. Responsibility, I chose this, I knew it was wrong. I accept the consequences. Repentance, declare the turn, who you are submitting to, what access you are granting, what doors you are closing, what roles you will relinquish. Restitution, state clearly how you will repay, restore, or repair. Money returned, lies corrected, people made whole. Luke 19:8 is our motto. Zacchaeus didn't issue a statement. He returned and restored. Tear up the PR apology. If I offended anyone, it's not confession. It is evasion. This is not who I am. It's denial. It is exactly who you chose to be in that moment. Tweet it. Explanations are smoke. Confession is fire that purifies. Psalm 32:5 says, I acknowledge my sin to you. I said, I will confess my transgressions to the Lord, and you forgave. God moves toward naked truth. People can too when truth stops negotiating. So here's your assignment today, not next week. Write the confession using the 4 parts. Read it to God on your knees. Read it to the ones you harmed without defense. Read it to your authority and sign it. If the circle was public, schedule the room, stand up, and say the nouns and verbs. This is the first stone back. James 4:6 promises, God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Humble yourself, and grace will meet you at the microphone. Lead with your life. Confession opened the door. Now we install scaffolding so you don't fall off the building again. Write this down. Accountability is not friends with opinions. Accountability is authority plus access. Tweet that to somebody right now. Advice cannot stop you. Authority can. Proverbs 27:6 says, faithful are the wounds of a friend. If they can't wound your schedule, your spending, and your secrecy, they are not your accountability, they are your audience. Grant veto power. I mean literal veto people who can say no and make it stick. Who can cancel your trip without your permission? Who can shut off the microphone even if the crowd is already in the room? Who can freeze the card when your appetites start negotiating? If nobody can stop you, you are already in danger. Ecclesiastes 4:10 warns, woe to him that is alone when he falls. Alone is not the absence of people. Alone is the absence of enforceable authority. Build dashboards, not diaries. Diaries hide, dashboards display. Write it down. Secrecy is soil for relapse. Access uproots secrecy. Give full calendar visibility meetings, travel, counseling, dinners, late night activities. Share travel logs, flight numbers, hotel names, rooming lists. Publish spending reports, monthly receipts attached, categories assigned, reconciled by someone who doesn't work for you. Give device access location services on, messages reviewable, browsers accountable, not peekaboo access, real-time access. Hebrews 13:17 says, obey them that have the rule over you. That is not about control, that is about covering. You are placing your future under a roof on purpose so the rain cannot find the cracks again. Predetermined consequences. If X occurs, Y happens automatically. No debates under duress. If I miss 2 consecutive check-ins, I take a 30-day platform fast. If an unsupervised opposite sex meeting occurs, I lose all one-on-one privileges for 6 months and travel only with a partner. If a financial discrepancy above an agreed threshold appears, I repay immediately, add a penalty, and relinquish purchasing authority for a season. If an old trigger resurfaces, late night texting, secret accounts, private counseling, I notify my board, my spouse, and my overseer within 24 hours or I step down. Pre-sign it. Date it. Put it in the hands of those with the keys. Tweet this. Accountability that cannot stop you is entertainment. Write it down and write it out, names, numbers, and non-negotiables. 3 to 5 people only, not a crowd. Crowds clap, councils correct. Give them access to the dashboards, authority to apply the consequences, and a calendar to audit. Schedule weekly reviews for 90 days, then monthly thereafter. No surprise is a good surprise in recovery. When the scaffolding is strong, the concrete cures straight. When the scaffolding is weak, the statue leans and looks fine until the wind returns. I've told leaders for years, put your influence in escrow until your integrity can carry it. That means others hold the release valve. It feels like prison. It is protection. It feels like loss. It is life. Remember, there is no such thing as a private life. Lead with your life. Real accountability is enforceable authority with full access and pre-agreed consequences. Lock yourself in the prison of that conviction and you will find it is a palace of peace. Boundaries are not cages. They are walls that keep your future in and predators out. Proverbs 25:28 says, whoever has no rule over his own spirit is like a city broken down without walls. Write it down. Boundaries are pre-decisions. You decide in peace what your desires will try to renegotiate under pressure. Tweet this. If you don't set limits, your lust will. Joseph didn't debate with Potiphar's wife. He set the fence flight. Flee sexual immorality. 1 Corinthians 6:18. Flee is a policy, not a feeling. Power fences first. No unsupervised meetings where compromise thrives. Close the doors you once opened. Never counsel alone in a closed room. Install glass. Keep the door ajar. Place meetings on the calendar and seat your assistant within earshot. No late night emergencies that mysteriously require privacy. Emergencies can stand daylight. Don't ride alone with someone you desire. Car rides are confession booths for foolishness. No green room isolation. Meet in public spaces. Schedule opposite sex meetings during work hours only. Never at hotels. Never over alcohol. Never past your established curfew. If you are on a platform, build a buffer. No spontaneous backroom prayer meetings with strangers. Jesus said, be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Matthew 10:16. Wisdom builds fences. Money fences now. 2 signatures for spending yours is not enough. Every card tied to the organization must have a co-signer and a monthly reconciliation by someone who does not report to you. No cash reimbursements without receipts. No pastoral discretion. Slush funds rename that temptation. Publish a transparent budget with limits set before the month begins. Spending follows the plan. The plan does not follow your mood. Separate accounts. Your personal finances are not the ministry's river. Quarterly external reviews. Annual independent audit. And an open book policy to your oversight. Zacchaeus proved repentance with math. If you can't explain a number to a teenager, the number is suspect. Sexual fences, rootless clarity, travel protocols, never travel alone, take a vetted partner, share itineraries, and lodge on the same floor with room lists provided to your accountability team. No adjacent rooms with someone you're discipling of the opposite sex. No hotel lobby. Counseling after hours. Devices. Install filters with reports sent to your authority. Disable secret browsers and block disappearing messages. And listen to me like a father. No DM discipleship. Social media is not your prayer closet. Direct private inquiries to official channels with moderators present. Job 31:1 says, I made a covenant with my eyes. Make one with your thumbs too. Time fences because fatigue breeds folly. Mark 6:31. Come aside by yourselves to a deserted place and rest a while. Schedule sleep as a moral discipline. Set a technology, curfew phones off, D&D on, no counseling after 9 p.m., no solo scrolling in bed. Put a weekly Sabbath on the calendar and guard it with the same zeal you guard your events. Margin is not laziness. Margin is armor. Psalm 127:2 says, He gives His beloved sleep. Receive the gift. Don't trade it for temptation. I walked a leader, Naomi, through this. We installed glass in her office. Ended all after-hours meetings, disabled DMs, and required 2 signatures on every expenditure over a modest threshold. She hated it for 30 days and thanked me for the rest of her life. Peace came back because pre-decisions killed negotiation. Ephesians 5:15 commands, walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. Circumspect means look around, build fences where you keep falling. Write it down. Your future is too expensive to fund your appetites. Set the limits now. And when pressure comes, and it will, you'll already have your answer. Lead with your life. There is no such thing as a private life. Fences protect, but foundations carry. Now we reset the vault, the internal sequence that makes your outside match your inside. Write this down. Philosophy births values. Values shape morals. Morals inform ethics. Ethics produce character. Character becomes lifestyle. Tweet that to somebody right now. If your philosophy is broken, your values wobble. When values wobble, morals blur. When morals blur, ethics get negotiated. When ethics are negotiated, character fractures. And when character fractures, lifestyle betrays you in public. Romans 12:2 says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's philosophy, your belief system. Start there. What is your philosophy? Not your slogans, your convictions about God, self, purpose, people, power, money, sex. The Lord, our God, the Lord is one. Deuteronomy 6:4. Oneness is our doctrine. Holiness is integrity. From that conviction, write your values, the non-negotiables. Values are what you will bleed for. If it doesn't cost you, it's not a value, it's a preference. Write it down. Vision without values is destiny without discipline. You can see Canaan from the mountain and still die in the wilderness if your values collapse under pressure. Open a blank page and title it, My Non-Negotiables. Then list them in nouns, present tense, no poetry, truth, fidelity, stewardship, purity, honor, service, transparency, rest, justice, generosity. These are not wishes, they are weights. Daniel 1-8 says, Daniel purposed in his heart, purpose before pressure. Now convert each value into morals, the internal standards you hold yourself to before anyone else speaks. Example, I value truth becomes I would tell the truth when it costs me position, applause, or money. I value fidelity becomes I will not create emotional or digital intimacies outside my covenant. I value stewardship becomes I will not use organizational money for personal comfort ever. Morals now become ethics, actionable rules you can audit. Write it down. Ethics are morals with calendars and clocks. If it cannot be scheduled or measured, it will not be kept. Sample ethics. I do not lie. I do not sign my own reimbursements. I do not meet privately after 9 p.m. I do not travel alone. I do not DM for discipleship. I do not keep secrets from my board, my spouse, or my overseer. I do not counsel with alcohol present. I do not browse without filters. I keep Sabbath weekly. I submit receipts by the 5th of every month. These are sentences you can enforce, not vibes you can explain. As ethics are kept consistently, they harden into character, unchanging integrity. A is A at 2 a.m. And character, lived repeatedly, becomes lifestyle predictable patterns that preach louder than your sermons. Psalm 119-11 says, Your word I have hidden in my heart, that I might not sin against you. Hide the word, then write your words, then live your words until they become your world. Philippians 4-8 is your content filter. Whatever is true, noble, just, pure, lovely, of good report, think on these things. Philosophy disciplines thoughts so values don't drift. Lock yourself in the prison of your convictions. Write it down. Tweet it. Post it on your mirror. Give the list to your accountability council. Sign it, date it, and read it aloud every morning for 90 days. This is the reset of the vault. From belief to value to moral to ethic to character to lifestyle. Stable character requires a rebuilt value system that governs daily ethics and visible lifestyle. Lead with your life. There is no such thing as a private life. Now that the vault is reset, you must make it right. Trust is not an apology. Trust is consistent predictability over time. Write it down. Tweet it. Forgiveness is given. Trust is earned. People may forgive you in a moment. They will trust you only when your patterns become boring in the best way. Luke 16:10 says, He who is faithful in what is least is faithful also in much. Faithfulness is steady sameness. A is A at 2 a.m. That is what rebuilds trust. Restitution is the bridge between confession and credibility. Zacchaeus didn't cry, he calculated. Look, Lord, I give half of my goods to the poor, and if I have taken anything, I restore fourfold. Luke 19-8. That's not drama, that's math. Exodus 22 outlines restitution as a law because repair must be tangible. Write it down. Repay what you took: money, time, opportunity, dignity. Money first. Return every dollar you misappropriated with interest and fees. Correct the books. Disclose to authorities. Accept the tax and legal implications. No arrangements in the shadows, receipts, wire confirmations, external audit. If you padded reimbursements, repay with penalties you didn't choose. Stewardship must be provable. Time next. If your failure stole hours from your spouse, your staff, or your congregation, schedule their return. Offer days off you pay for. Fund counseling sessions you attend with them. And step back from roles so others are not carrying your crisis as an unpaid job. Time is currency. Pay it back on a calendar. Opportunity then. If your breach blocks someone else's promotion or platform, advocate for them publicly. Recommend, endorse, and make room. Relinquish seats you occupied by charisma and hand them to competence you once overshadowed. Repair is not symbolic, it is structural. Dignity, most sacred. Where you shamed a name, use your voice to restore that name. Public sin birth public suspicion, so issue public truth. Cover counseling bills for those you wounded. Where gossip spread, send corrections. Where accusations confuse, supply facts that clear the innocent and name your guilt. Matthew 5:23-24 commands reconciliation. Even before worship, first be reconciled to your brother. Worship waits when people bleed. Here is your repair order. Write it down. Admit, ask, amend, account, then accept outcomes. Admit, restate the offense plainly. Ask, what does repair require of me? Not can we move on. Amend, implement the plan. Repay, restore, resign when necessary. Retrain under oversight. Account. Build a scoreboard, deadlines, auditors, and monthly reports to the harmed parties or their representatives. Then accept outcomes. They may still say, not yet. You don't get to demand a timeline for someone else's healing. 2 Corinthians 7:11 shows what godly sorrow looks like. Clearing of yourselves, indignation, zeal, vindication. Sorrow moves the ledger, not the audience. Set timelines and milestones. Measure promises, not feelings. 30 days, all funds returned. Audit complete, counseling scheduled. 60 days. Opportunity repairs enacted. Endorsements issued. Platforms relinquished. 90 days. Independent verification delivered. Restitution receipts documented. Oversight report published. If it cannot be scheduled, it will not be sustained. Tweet it. Forgiveness is given. Trust is earned. You cannot demand trust. You must deliver reliability until trust has evidence to return. Lead with your life. Make it right. And keep making it right until predictability turns your apology into history and your name into a safe place again. This is the daily integrity gym. Training, not trying. 1 Timothy 4:7 says, train yourself for godliness. And verse 8 adds that training holds promise for the present life and also for the life to come. Write it down. Discipline is the bridge from desire to destiny. Tweet that to somebody right now. You don't rise to your hopes. You fall to your habits. Character grows by daily disciplines that make truth-telling and self-denial your reflex. Start at sunrise. Morning vows align before assignment. Deuteronomy 6-7 instructs us to speak the words when you rise up. So rise up and declare your non-negotiables out loud. Hand on your heart and speak in present tense. I tell the truth. I keep my word. I guard my eyes. I honor my spouse. I steward money faithfully. I submit to my oversight. I rest weekly. I serve before I shine. Then turn values into vows. I do not lie. I do not meet after 9 p.m. in private. I do not sign my own reimbursements. I do not DM for discipleship. Say it until your mouth teaches your mind and your mind trains your body. The Lord our God, the Lord is one. Deuteronomy 6-4. Be one. Integration in the morning closes negotiation at noon. Now the honesty reps small weights, high frequency. Luke 16:10. He who is faithful in what is least is faithful also in much. Tell the hard truth in little things. If you will be 8 minutes late, do not say 5. If you forgot, say I forgot. If you can't meet the deadline, say it early and own it. If the cashier gives you extra change, return it and bless them with honor, not theft cloaked in favor. If a teammate suggests an idea you used, name them publicly. This was Sarah's insight. Psalm 15:4 honors the one who swears his own hurt and does not change. Pay the small price now to avoid the large debt later. Every straight sentence is a rep that thickens the soul. Record keeping is weight training for trust. Commitments, cash, calendar, write it down. Clarity kills confusion. Proverbs 27-23 says, be diligent to know the state of your flocks. Your flocks are your receipts, your dates, your promises. Adopt the 2 4-hour rule. Every expense logged by day's end with receipt attached. Every promise captured with a due date. Every meeting placed on the shared calendar. If it can be written, it can be trusted. Build an audit before an accusation. Send a weekly summary to your accountability council. What you spent, where you went, what you promised, and invite questions. Light now, saves headlines later. Practice micro choices that protect your macro future. Refuse flattery. When someone says you're different, we have a connection. Answer with boundaries, not banter. Delete the DM. Don't dialogue with it. Return overpayments. Decline perks tied to platform that turn gratitude into leverage. Credit ideas precisely. Send thank you notes with names. Are you for sale? Set the price at not available. Tweet this. Pre-decided no is your strongest yes to destiny. Close the day with integrity. Examine 5 minutes, 5 questions. Did I shade any truth? Do I owe anyone an apology or correction? Did I guard my eyes and my thumbs? Did I honor money boundaries? Did I keep my times? If the Spirit taps you, act before you sleep. Ephesians 4:26 warns, do not let the sun go down on your wrath. Extend that to your wrongs. Text the correction. Schedule the restitution. Confess the miss. Log the receipt. Do this 30 days and reflex forms. Do it 90 and it becomes your normal. Paul said, I discipline my body and bring it into subjection. 1 Corinthians 9:27. Character is self-imposed discipline. Lead with your light. There is no such thing as a private life. Small reps every day until truth and restraint become automatic. That is how the soul grows thick enough to carry tomorrow's weight. Live loudly. There is no such thing as a private life. Write that down. Tweet it to somebody right now. The Lord our God, the Lord is one. Deuteronomy 6:4. Oneness is God's nature. Integrity is your imitation. Integrity means integration, one life, not compartments. Jesus said, nothing is hidden that will not be disclosed, nor anything secret that will not come to light. Luke 8:17. You can hide it from people for a season, but you cannot hide it from principle. Principles are laws, they never change. Secrecy fractures you. Transparency fuses you back to one. Here is the rule of life. Simple, brutal, liberating. Never do anything you don't want anyone to find out about. Write it down. Tweet it. Hide nothing. Fear nothing. If you cannot announce it, you should not attempt it. If you cannot put it on a calendar your team can see, do not do it. If you cannot text your spouse, your board, and your overseer about it in a single message, cancel it. John 3:21 says, whoever lives by the truth comes into the light. Light is not your enemy. Light is your bodyguard. Establish transparency rhythms, predictable exposures that make secrecy impossible. Open calendars. Your assistants, your spouse, and your accountability council see where you are, with whom, and why. Shared passwords. Email, cloud drives, social media, banking stored in a vault, your oversight controls, location sharing, your phone pings your whereabouts to at least 2 people at all times. Visible processes, reimbursements filed through systems others administer, counseling scheduled through public channels, travel booked by a team, not by you in a dark car with a credit card and a mood. Ephesians 5:13 declares, everything exposed by the light becomes visible. Build light into your logistics. Narrate your guardrails publicly. Normalize scrutiny. Tell your staff, your congregation, your clients, these are my fences. These are my overseers. These are the dashboards they see. Here is our audit date. Here are our travel protocols. Here is our DM policy. Here is our curfew. Announce your policies from the platform. Post an annual ethics statement. Host quarterly open books nights, budget summaries, audit highlights, questions aloud. Invite an external Q&A with your accountability council present. You disarm suspicion by defining your standards before scandals try to define you. I walked a brother Caleb back from the cliff with this. He stood up and said, here's where I failed. Here is who has my passwords. Here is our spending cap. Here is the phone number of my overseer. Call him. He announces no DM policy to the whole community, posted his travel companions in advance, and read his curfew out loud. Do you know what happened? Peace returned. Not because he was perfect, but because he was predictable in the light. Proverbs 28:13 says, he who covers his sins will not prosper, but whoever confesses and forsakes them will have mercy. Mercy meets movement toward light. Live loudly. Lead with your life. Put your fences on the front page and your processes in the sunshine. Transparency protects what secrecy destroys. Oneness is your safety. When you hide nothing, you fear nothing. And when you fear nothing, you are finally free to be one. Re-enter with fear and trembling, not with swagger sober. Philippians 2:12 says, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. Why trembling? Because elevation magnifies everything, your strengths and your fractures. Write this down. Access increases exposure. Exposure requires extra integrity. Tweet that to somebody right now. Luke 12:48 declares, to whom much is given, much will be required. The requirement rises with the reach. The law didn't change, your altitude did. The same 3 exams return power, money, and sex. Only now they come with VIP passes and backstage passes. 1 Corinthians 10:12 warns, let him who thinks he stands take heed lest he fall. So take heed before the lights come back on. Power first. Don't sit where you can't be corrected. Titles don't make you untouchable, they make you targetable. If the seat you choose cannot be interrupted, change seats. Who can cut your microphone mid-sentence if you drift? Who can stand up and say stop when the crowd is clapping and your adrenaline is lying? If nobody can stop you, you are already in danger. Create an interruption protocol, written, signed, enforced. Reserve a front row chair for your overseer at every major event. They have the right to call time. Publish your preaching calendar to your council 60 days ahead. They can veto dates for rest or risk. No green room isolation, windows, people, light. Power does not corrupt. Power reveals. Make sure it reveals a man or woman under authority. Remember, obey those who rule over you, for they watch out for your souls. Hebrews 13:17. Covering is not control, it's storm shelter. Money next. Separate personal from organizational. No commingling, no confusion. Your salary is set by a board you do not chair. Your bonus is policy, not pity. No direct cash love offerings to your personal accounts. Route through the organization, receipt it, and report it. 2 signatures on every organizational expense. Yours is never sufficient alone. You do not approve your own reimbursements ever. Monthly financial dashboards to your oversight. Quarterly external reviews. Annual independent audit with a summary shared to your stakeholders. Proverbs 11:1 says, dishonest scales are an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is his delight. Get scales, not stories. Budgets set before the month begins. Spending follows plan, not applause. Taxes paid, tithes honored, receipts attached. Stewardship that can be proved is stewardship that can be trusted. Sex don't play smart, play safe. Joseph's pattern is your policy. He left his garment in her hand and fled, Genesis 39:12. He ran. He didn't reason. Samson is your warning. He did not know that the Lord had departed from him, Judges 16:20. Strength without restraint is suicide. Scale your fences upward. Never travel alone. Team on every trip. Same floor. Room list sent to oversight. No late night counseling. No hotel lobby therapy. No private transport with temptation. Disable disappearing messages. No DM discipleship direct to official channels with moderators. Publish your curfew. Pre-announce your travel companions. Disclose your schedules. Delete and disclose. Beats debate and delay. Make Job 31:1 a contract with your eyes and your thumbs. Guardrails at scale mean more visibility, not less. The higher the building, the deeper the foundation, and the denser the scaffolding. Write it down. More platform demands more policies. More applause demands more audits. More access demands more alarms. Image before dominion. Again and again. God gave character before power. Keep it that way or power will expose the crack you refuse to seal. Re-enter, but re-enter small in your soul. Interruptible, accountable, and predictable in the light. Lead with your life. There is no such thing as a private life. Escalate your guardrails as your influence grows. And influence will become a blessing, not a burial ground. Now hear me. The next step is not a press conference. It is a produce conference. Lead with your life fruit before a microphone. Write it down. Your gift is your fruit. Trees don't chase consumers. Consumers find fruit. You will know them by their fruits. Matthew 7:16. Proverbs 18:16 says, a man's gift makes room for him. Not his image. Not his Instagram. His gift. Fruit attracts without advertising. It is the nature of fruit to be discovered, not demanded. Start seeking followers. Start serving needs. That's how credibility returns, by usefulness. Mark 10:45 says, the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life. If Jesus chose a towel over a throne, what are we doing rehearsing our comeback speech? Get a towel, wash feet, fix systems you broke, feed people you ignored, answer the emails you once delegated to the void, solve small problems without a selfie, write it down. Usefulness is the new credibility. Tweet it to somebody. People follow solutions, not slogans. Platform follows practice. Character sustains what talent starts. Talent gets you in rooms. Character keeps you in rooms. We said it from the beginning, image before dominion. Genesis 1:26. Let us make man in our image and let them have dominion. Be before you do. When being is right, doing becomes natural. When being is fractured, doing becomes dangerous. Tweet this. Let your life be the sermon your mouth supports. Preach by predictability. Let your words become footnotes. So reframe your schedule around service, not stage. Hours in the light with people, not hours in the mirror with angles. Audit days, not announcement days. Hospital visits before highlight reels. Budget corrections before branding campaigns. Reconcile with the offended before you run another event. James 2:18 says, show me your faith without your works, and I will show you my faith by my works. Let works talk. Proverbs 27:2. Let another man praise you and not your own mouth. Don't build a comeback brand. Build a consistent life. When the pattern is plain, people will do the PR you no longer deserve to do. Fruit is not noise, it's nourishment. The fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. This is edible evidence. Galatians 5:20-23. John 15:8. By this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit, so you will be my disciples. Not by much noise, by much fruit. A tree does not tweet its harvest. Birds announce it by their returning. Make returning your reputation. You keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up. Lead with your life. Serve until the headlines get boring. Solve until the critics have to confess. Be before you do. Do will flow. Fruit before microphone. Service before spotlight. Character before charisma. Do not rebuild your brand. Rebuild your being. Service will carry your name further than speeches. Lead with your life. There is no such thing as a private life. Are you for sale? That is not a cute question. That is a covenant question. Every soul has a shelf until it writes, not available over the price tag. What is your price? Fame, fear, loneliness, a wire transfer, a compliment. Esau traded destiny for stew. That's called cheap. Genesis 25-33-34. Judas named his number at 30 pieces of silver. Matthew 26-15. Write this down. Sin always discounts your future, and the buyer never pays retail. Tweet that to somebody right now. Pre-decide your no. Build alarms that shout before your desires whisper. Matthew 26-41 says, watch and pray lest you enter into temptation. Watch, set alarms. Pray, fortify conviction. The spirit is willing, the flesh is weak. If you don't pre-decide, your weakness will negotiate. Set your alarms. Fatigue, isolation, entitlement. When these spike, danger rises. Fatigue, lies. Under exhaustion, even wise people think stupid thoughts. Elijah wanted to die when he needed a nap and a meal. 1 Kings 19-4. Write it down. When sleep drops, fences drop. Install a sleep floor 7 hours minimum. If you break it 2 nights in a row, you cancel all discretionary meetings. Isolation amplifies fantasy. The lion hunts the straggler, not the herd. If you have traveled alone too long, if your calendar shows too many solo nights, you are in the red zone. Entitlement is the hiss in the garden, you deserve this. When you start saying, after all I've given, I'm owed a little, sound the siren. James 1:14-15 warns that desire, when it conceives, gives birth to sin, then death. Build a dashboard, sleep hours, nights alone, compliments archived, DMs from strangers, cash gifts offered, stress score. If any two flash yellow, your phone auto texts your overseer. That is an alarm that shouts. Now, people audit. Who around you profits from your compromise? Proverbs 29:5 says, a man who flatters his neighbor spreads a net for his feet. Who keeps stroking your ego because your drift funds their lifestyle? Who brings you access to temptation in the name of hospitality? Who edits bad news to protect their invoice? John 12:6 says, Judas kept the money bag and helped himself. Check the bags. If someone's income depends on your image rather than your integrity, they will become your anesthesiologist while you bleed. Replace flatterers with truth tellers. Pay people to confront you. Reward the one who ruins your moment to save your future. Write it down. Loyalty to your soul outranks loyalty to your schedule. Design exit routes before you need them. 1 Corinthians 10:13 promises a way of escape. Wise people map it. Create a code red protocol. One word you text to 3 people. Spouse, overseer, driver, and they call immediately. No questions, and extract you. Pre-book safe locations, office with cameras, a family home, a church office, places with light, not lobbies at midnight. Travel with teammates. Publish your companions in advance. If the team gets delayed, you delay too. No private ride shares at 1 a.m. Dispatch only. Tracked. Set money exits. If a cash gift appears outside policy, refuse and report within 1 hour. Set digital exits. Disable disappearing messages. Auto forward DMs to a monitored account. When flirtation lands, delete and disclose, not debate and delay. 2 Timothy 2:22 says, flee youthful lust. Flee is a route, not a feeling. Finally, fix the price sign forever. Write it down. If you're not for sale, stop browsing. Stop browsing compliments. Stop browsing catalogs of compromise, late night feeds, unfiltered threads, secret invitations, accidental handshakes with envelopes. Job 31:1 is your contract. I made a covenant with my eyes. Make one with your thumbs and your wallet too. Put spending caps you cannot lift. DM policies you cannot bypass. Curfews you cannot extend without someone else's key. Pre-decide your no. Post it where your flesh can see it. Build alarms that shout before your desires whisper. Lead with your life. This is the covenant of renewal, the 90-day character. Rebuild. Make restoration measurable. Write it down. Covenant, calendar, and community enforce your becoming. Habakkuk 2:2 says, write the vision and make it plain, that he may run who reads it. Vows without a calendar are wishes. Wishes don't rebuild trust. Ecclesiastes 5:4 warns, when you make a vow to God, do not delay to fulfill it. So we vow, we schedule, we submit. Tweet that to somebody right now. Days 130, confession complete, scaffolding installed, boundaries enforced. James 5:16, confess your faults one to another and pray for one another that you may be healed. Day 1, submit written, specific confession to your oversight and to every circle you led. No euphemisms, no edits. Day 2, install scaffolding. Appoint an accountability council of 3, overseer, financial auditor, and a peer with backbone grant, full digital, financial, and calendar access with pre-agreed consequences they can enforce. Day 3, publish your fences. Curfew set, travel companions named, DM policy posted, no cash direct rule activated, 2 signature spending, no private meetings after hours, light on everything. Psalm 51, every morning for 30 days, not as poetry but as posture. Daily check-in at 9 p.m. with your counsel, where you were, money you touched, people you met. Fast 1 day a week to tell your body you are not the boss. Image before, dominion be before you do. The first month is demolition of secrecy and erection of scaffolding strong enough to stop you. Days 31-60, restitution milestones, weekly audits, public transparency rhythms. Zacchaeus didn't cry. He calculated Luke 19:8. Week 5, all restitution plans executed with receipts, funds returned with penalties, time repaid on a calendar, opportunities restored, names cleared in writing. Week 6, begin weekly audits. Monday morning money review with your auditor. Wednesday calendar audit with your counsel. Friday ethics check, touching the 3 tests: power, money, access to sex. Proverbs 27-23. Be diligent to know the state of your flocks. Host a bi-weekly transparency touch point. Post audit summaries. Publish travel companions. Report on boundaries kept and any breaches owned within 24 hours. Public light becomes your rhythm, not your reaction. Day 6190, gradual re-entry with guardrails and external review. 2 Corinthians 8:21. We are taking pains to do what is right, not only in the eyes of the Lord, but also in the eyes of man. Start small. Serve behind the scenes. No platform yet. Let fruit precede microphone. At day 70, external reviewers, independent of your payroll, assess your systems, your receipts, your adherence to fences. Any red flags, reset the clock. If cleared, day 80-90 allows limited supervised assignments with interruption, authority in the room, travel rules enforced, and post-event debriefs submitted within 24 hours. Remember, the same tests return at higher levels, so escalate guardrails as influence inches back. Anchor the journey with a weekly liturgy. Write this down. Sunday, sunrise, vows aloud. I tell the truth. I keep my word. I guard my eyes. I steward money faithfully. I submit to oversight. I rest weekly. I serve before I shine. I lock myself in the prison of my convictions. Deuteronomy 6-7. Teach them when you rise. Monday, values review. What do I value? And did my week align? Wednesday, budget check. Every dollar accounted, every receipt attached. Friday, accountability report. Sent, where I went, what I spent, what I promised, what I resisted. 1 Timothy 4-7. Train yourself for godliness. Training has times. Seal it with a signature. Nehemiah 9:38. Because of all this we make a sure covenant and write it. Draft a personal covenant that states your values, your fences, your auditors, your consequences. Sign it, date it, and have your counsel and spouse witness it. Place it where your eyes must pass daily. Joshua 24-15. Choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. Choose on paper. Choose on a calendar. Choose in community. 90 days will not finish you. They will forge you. Lead with your life. There is no such thing as a private life. Covenant, calendar, and community. These will enforce your becoming.